Hello, everyone. This is Donna from Attaining Alternative Solutions, and I so appreciate you being here today and having interest in this upcoming webinar series. It's called Maximizing Potential and Attaining Intentions and Goals. And for now, it's despite a pandemic or anything else that may be coming into your life. So I wanted to just do a very quick webinar, free webinar, so that people could find out what it's about and if they're actually interested in attending. So basically, if the pandemic or anything else has kind of put a halt to what you've been trying to achieve, whether it's goals, intentions, or just, maximizing your potential, this will be a nice way for you to attend those types of things that are of interest to you. So in this free webinar, I'm going to talk about the different webinars in the series. I'll also be talking about the sneak peeks and highlights of each one, so you can choose which one may be more beneficial for you to show up to, if not all of them. And then you will hear about special webinar savings as well. So let's move forward with this and take a look at what we are going to be using for a process. The Sassy process will guide us through. So for those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that fundamental mastery is another piece of my business. And so we went from Attaining Alternative Therapies to Attaining Alternative Solutions because we stopped just using the energetic therapies or the therapies for the physical body and also started using some really logically minded types of strategies for attaining goals and maximizing potential. So the Sassy process is actually an acronym, and it's the 7 steps with 2 additional components, as you can see here. So we start out with self-reflection to gain awareness, and then we align our actions, and we get support, and then signs. We watch for signs, and we evaluate along the way. And there's 2 additional components, and one of them is we decide what the targeted area of priority is, or the TAP. And that's really important because you want to know what it is that you really want to focus on. And sometimes we think we know, and then we find out halfway toward a goal that, wow, I'm not getting there. And the reason is because I didn't realize that that wasn't really the goal that I wanted. So we spend some time on that. And then we actually set up the goal or the intended outcome that you are interested in achieving. So then we get to move forward and you will get to choose whichever ones that you want to attend. So yes, each one will build on the previous webinar and whatever the concepts are that we are going to be discussing. But at the same time, if you feel like you've got one of those steps down and you see another one that's coming up and you'd rather attend that, it's okay. You don't have to take the whole series. You can pick and choose which ones. So let's get into them now. Webinar number 1 is basically about, it's the first one in the series, and it will allow you, as you saw in the Sassy process, to really become aware of an area in your life where you would like to thrive. And we'll use a 5-point product descriptor tool that will actually guide you in crafting a goal that's unique to you. So it's like a workshop. It's a thing where you won't have to, you can have your own privacy. You can do it in a way that you want to do it without having to share everything out if you're not that kind of a person. But you still are going to be able to come up with something and have it in hand so that you have an idea of what your direction is going to be. And webinar 2 will take it a step further. But let's first look at number 1, sneak peeks. First, it's going to be on February 10th. It'll be at 7 o'clock. And the fee, which is typically $50, is now going to be a special intro price for this particular one for $40. And you'll see that there's, among these sneak peek slides, you'll see that there are fees for members, and that may vary. And I'll get into that later. So, part of the thing that you can see on the side of the screen is that there are 2 balance wheels. Excuse me, and one of them is a life balance wheel, and the one below is a business balance wheel. And those are the 2 wheels that I typically will start out with, depending on who's coming to me and what they're coming, personally or professionally. And so we'll be actually using the one that's the personal life balance wheel for this particular webinar series. And then, as you can see, we'll use the 5-point rubric for potential maximization. And you might ask yourself, how do I know? Is this the one for me to attend? And ask yourself, is my goal process setting a sort of, set it and forget it, right? How successful have I been with my goal attainment thus far? And do I believe that I'm thriving? And those are going to help you decide if webinar 1 is for you in the series. And we'll move on to webinar 2, and that is going to be a focus on the 3rd and 4th steps of the Fundamental Mastery Sassy process. And you'll get an understanding of aligning your actions. And that's going to then set up for webinar 3 as well. So let's take a sneak peek at that. That is on March 10th at 7 o'clock, and it will be $50. And again, memberships, it may vary in pricing. We'll be looking at setting up an action plan for you once you've aligned your actions. And would it benefit you to attend? Ask yourself, am I aware of my full potential? What am I willing to commit to reach that? And what's my motivation or my level to thrive? So what's the catalyst, and how strong is that catalyst for you? And if that's something you're questioning, webinar 2 may be for you. So moving on to webinar 3, the 3rd in the series, is we're looking at the 5th step of the Sassy process, and we're setting up a support plan, because oftentimes we have default patterns. It's what we've always done, and so it's what we're always doing, and yet we don't get to where it is that we'd like to go. So this is where we'll really use this stepping stone as we work toward webinar 4. So a sneak peek for number 3 is actually going to be April 14th. It'll be at 7 o'clock, and this won't be the sneak peek. This will actually be the webinar itself, and it will be $50, varying prices. And it really looks at, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you're happy, great, you're good. Keep going where you need to go. And if you're not happy, then maybe you need to take a look at this. So would it benefit you? Ask yourself, am I noticing repetitive default patterns? Am I accessing all of the support that I could be? And what is the quality, or are the qualifications of my current sources of support? That's big, because if you're asking someone to support you who doesn't have those skills themselves, probably not going to get you where you need to be. And we will create that support plan during webinar number 3. So moving on to webinar number 4, we'll look for signs that are going to help us evaluate our progress toward our Sassy goals. In order to do so, there's lots of things that you're going to need to know, and you'll also need to be aware of. Even if you don't know them, there will be signs along the way. And so we'll take a look at that. What does that look like? And during the sneak peek of what it is, which the webinar itself will be May 12th at 7, again, $50 fee. Changes will happen. If you are working toward these goals, the changes will happen. It's just a result of cause and effect. But we have to evaluate those signs to see if they're actually leading you toward or away from your intended outcome. That's a really important piece that sometimes we forget. We just go along with our lives, and then we wake up and we're like, geez, I'm not even where I need to be. I'm not even close to where I need to be. So that's a huge step. We'll build an evaluation plan for you that works for you. So would it benefit you to attend? Ask yourself, do I work diligently on my goals and yet feel like I'm not achieving them despite how hard I work? And do I employ the different types of evaluation techniques? And that's a really important piece. So let's move forward to number 5. And at this point, we will have worked through all of the 7 steps of the Sassy process and the 2 additional components. So in this 5th workshop or webinar, we're going to begin again, and we're going to assess through reflection in order to become aware of any changes that we might need to do in order to course correct. And we'll discuss goal abandonment and that topic, because it's important. And sometimes we think of abandonment as being a negative thing, and walking away from a goal as being a negative thing. But sometimes there are situations where it is important to abandon a goal. And we'll look more deeply at that during webinar 5. So let's take a little sneak peek here. That'll be June 9th at 7. It'll be, again, the $50 fee. And, with goal abandonment, we'll discuss at what point do you press on, and when do you tap out and say, it's probably not working. So would it benefit you to attend? Ask yourself, If I do evaluate my progress, do I have the tools that I need to make the best use of that assessment? How do I use what I've discovered to determine next steps? Do I feel guilty about abandoning my efforts on a goal? And if I do abandon my goal, do I have to start all over again? That can be a really frustrating thing. And I think I can offer you some hope and some incentive in that. And it's about discernment and course correction. And we'll talk more about that. So we're moving on now to webinar 6. So currently we'll be at that time in month 6 of the series, and you will have already received a great deal of knowledge at that point, if you choose to attend all of them up to that point, or you'll probably have a lot of knowledge that's new to you, or just at least a reminder as you get into, just the few that you may attend. So what I've decided is that at this point, we'll probably need more information, and it'll probably need to be more geared towards you and where you're at. So we'll do a Q&A consultation model where I will have any questions that you bring to me and try and clarify as best I can for you so that you can move toward your thriving and that level that you want to maximize your potential and attain your intentions and your goals before we head on to webinar 7. So a sneak peek for number 6, it's going to be July 14th at 7. Again, $50 fee. Prices may differ for members. And we'll begin again with self-reflection as well. So would it benefit you to attend? Ask yourself, are there any areas where I could benefit from getting clear about the content that I've learned so far? And am I needing a bit more support in the form of a review? And if so, this one might be a good one for you to attend. So we're moving on to webinar 7. 2 questions. How well do you know yourself? And how well do you regard what you know about yourself? Do you honor that, what you know about yourself, or do you just kind of let it go by the wayside? So recognizing your personal strengths and then admitting your challenges is step 1. And what you know about these 2 things will help you to lessen those challenges that you have. So we're going to look at what kind of processor are you? How do you attain and retain information? What's your best work environment? Is it with others? Is it alone? And we'll also look at how can you best assess yourself, or can someone else assess you and your knowledge? Are you oral expressive? Are you written expressive? And we'll get more into those things as well during webinar 7. So a sneak peek is that it'll be August 11th at 7, and the fee remains the same. And you can ask yourself, do I know how I attain and retain information? Am I aware of my best work setting? And could I verbalize to others how I best show what I know? Or might I want to write that? So let's move on to 8. 8 is about hitting those stubborn obstacles and that they just keep presenting challenges to you, and assessing the why is sometimes important. And we'll talk about that. And we'll realize that alignment goes deeper than just your covert or your overt actions, like those in your action plan that you'll set up that are easily seen and you know why you're doing these things. And we'll look into covert behaviors that sometimes can mystify all of us. And so we'll look at the way you live your life and just give you some pointers to look at. Do you come from a FACE approach? And FACE is actually an acronym, just like PURE is an acronym. So I look at 2 different ways. Are you coming from a FACE approach when you are doing things in life and dealing with things in life? Or are you coming from a PURE approach? And that could be the missing piece to your thriving. You might be doing all the right things, but the way you're approaching it could be what's holding you back. So we'll look at the sneak peek. What signal are you sending? Are you coming from a FACE approach, a PURE approach? It'll be September 8th at 7. And would it benefit you to attend? Ask yourself, do I know what signal I'm sending? And am I aware of the type of ripple that I'm sending out that will eventually return to me? Because when we are putting something out there, just like a ripple in the water, it will move out and impact others. But eventually it's going to hit an opposing force and send that ripple back to us. And what kind of ripple are we sending out that we will eventually get? And we'll look a little more deeply at that by looking at these 2 approaches. And then webinars 9 through 12, those are, I've left them sort of undetermined with the content, because I think at that point, we're really going to look at where you're at, how things have been going for you, where you might still be looking at some challenges that are in your face. And so I want to really wait to determine the agenda so that I can see what is it that you truly need. And then I can form the agenda from that for those last few webinars. And I say I can form them, it'll be you forming them, and we'll decide from there. So let's look forward. Potential content that could be covered in these webinars, 9 through 12, is that it isn't always black and white, cut and dry, or a straight path. And so sometimes we need to use the Sassy process. It'll still guide us, but we're going to have to use it differently. Sometimes you'll reflect, you'll do that self-reflection, you'll gain the awareness, and you start to align yourself with actions that you could take, and you're thinking, I don't want to take those actions. And it clearly might not be important enough for you to take those actions. So you're going to go back to self-reflection and see why. So even if we get to this point and you're feeling like, gee, I'm making progress, but not what I want, we'll take a look at the Sassy process and we'll take it out of order a little bit and see what we can do with it. And if you're still unsure about attending any or all of these webinars, then let's remove a few more obstacles with the following stepping stones. So the webinar series, they'll, as you saw, are held monthly, and it's easy to register. And a lot of people get overwhelmed with the technology and that type of thing, but I've made it easier as best I can, and I will be here to support you in that piece as well. So you'll go to donnatem.com first, and you'll purchase the webinars. And then what you'll do is you will go to a second step. Just because you purchase it does not mean that you are actually registered. You need to go to the Zoom where you'll get a link to go to Zoom and actually register for it. And then from there, you'll get a unique URL that only you can use to join. And if you do happen to have someone that thinks, oh, you know, I'd love to share and use that URL, it will kick you off if you're on, because only the unique URLs are for you. So just be sure that, you know, if you're sharing, it's not going to actually work. It'll kick someone off, and hopefully not you. So not tech savvy, not a problem. So each purchase will have a download, and it's a step-by-step guide that will look much like this one that I've included here. And it'll help you through the purchasing and the registration. You may actually get it twice. You may get it when you first pay, and then you may get it again after you've registered from the Zoom webinar platform. So considering your budget, take advantage of some of these options so that you can save. So I do have a very new DTAS private Facebook group, and there's free entrance into drawings for reduced fees on selected offerings. If you're a part of this group, you can attend a monthly Q&A webinar, which is different from this series here. There will be Q&A webinars as well, so you can attend those for a reduced fee. You can connect and network with like-minded people, and aside from what I put on my actual feed for Donna Tem Alternative Solutions Facebook page, I also add a little bit more to take you a little bit deeper in the private group as well. Or there are memberships that are coming, and you'll have to stay tuned for this one because this is going to be big, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But there will be 3 tiers. And it's to really allow every one of you to take full advantage of whatever it is that you want to take advantage of and get some savings. So basically, this particular one is not all of tier 3, but has some of the things that are in tier 3 and much more. But you can see that you get free entry into a drawing for a chance to win a free spot in an upcoming webinar or class. You can enter into a drawing for a chance for 25% off, 10% off all class offerings other than my D term. online, attend monthly Q&A webinars for free, and there's just a ton more. And there'll be more information to come as well. So stay tuned. And I haven't really said a whole lot yet, but I do have a whole new website as well. So I've done a soft launch because there are things that with every new thing that you put out there, there's a learning curve, and there are things that need to be shifted a little bit. So if you do check out donatem.com, you will find this on the resources page. There will be more to come, and please let me know what you think. So I hope you have got what you need from attending this webinar. I appreciate you taking the time. And again, to purchase and sign up for the first webinar, go to the purchases tab on donatem.com, and feel free to reach out to me if you need any help. All of my information is here. You can email me. You can send me something from the contact page on donatem.com. You can go onto my Facebook page. It's Donatem Alternative Solutions. You can join the private Facebook group. You can look at me on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of ways that you can contact me. So please feel free. And once again, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the webinar series.